Well, good morning, you glorious mother truckers, you, and welcome to another video. Right, I suppose we best get back onto the pressing story of the moment, which of course is the determination by those in Reform, their leadership, the 5 MPs, etc., to completely and utterly self-destruct themselves. I think it was yesterday, Lee Anderson decided that he wanted to pick a fight with Steve Bray. You know who Steve Bray is. Yeah, he's that annoying twat who has been yelling down his microphone about Brexit, well, since Brexit, really. And that has a link into what I'm going to be discussing next, because it's one of those ones where I'm going to sort of split ball my ideas, throw a few of those magic curveballs out to see where it goes and see if this idea resonates with anyone else. Because in reality, that's the other reason why I do what I do. I do it because I seem to have this innate ability to see past the box. I'm always thinking outside the box. I'm always seeing a bigger picture. Always have done. It's just one of those things that I do. I don't know why, it just is there. So, Lee Anderson decides to try and pick a fight with Steve Bray. Police get involved. Now, the question will be, we already know the answer, is is Lee Anderson going to remove the whip from himself? Is there going to be a massive investigation by the members, senior memberships of Reform? Is he going to be thrown under the bus? Rumours and allegations are going to suddenly appear out of fucking nowhere? Of course not, because Lee Anderson does as he's told. So he's a good boy, and he daren't and doesn't not massage Nigel Farage's ridiculous ego, his Messiah complex, his God complex. So, looking at this now, this is me outside the box thinking, okay? So take it as it is. Now, after speaking to one of my close friends, he pointed out something that I was unaware of, but raises a question. Now that is as you know, Reform had originally 5 MPs. Now there is something called the Opposition Fund, which allows money to be given to the opposition of Her Majesty's government. And to qualify for this, you need 6 MPs. So Reform were literally just that 1 MP off getting that money. Now they're not. Now they're 2 MPs off getting that money, and I don't think it would have took long before some, disillusioned Tory to, what's the word I'm looking for? Move over to the Reform Party. There is a proper word for it, and for the love of me at the moment, I just can't remember what it is. Defect. There you go. Oh God, come on. It's early in the morning. My brain's not quite right. Any case. And that would then allow him to do that. Now, is the situation that's occurred because they were on the verge of getting 6 MPs, which would mean that they would actually be marked down as opposition to the government? Because with 5, they're not. They're not seen as opposition to the government. But apparently if you have 6 MPs, you are. We do have some very, very weird shit in our politician system. But in any case, so has this happened because then that would mean they would actually be the opposition, which changes a lot of things. And is that why Rupert Lowe said the things he said? Which was, we need to, and I've covered it before in another video, and I'll just quickly skirt over it now. We need to show people that we want to, or are capable of becoming, the next sitting government. And obviously now things have come out about Nigel. And of course, as is whenever we get every skeleton coming out of the closet. I'm just going to play you a quick video now of Nigel, well, being Nigel.
Many people who've worked with you in the past would say you're the repeat offender here, always having massive bust-ups with people. Here we go again.
I don't fall out with anybody. They fall out with me. You know what? Most of the team that I work with in this party are people that have been around me for over a decade. I am a team player. I do work with people. I do it for the long term.
Your political biography is strewn with roadside political corpses, people you've fallen out with.
I don't fall out with anybody. I just get on and do what I do. They fall out with me.
So, there we have Nigel being narcissistic. Because, of course, it's not me, it's everybody else that's at fault. So, yeah, puts that into perspective. And then we have this strange interview from Channel 4 where he claims not to be who he claims to be.
Various types of populist party on the right across Europe. Which one do you look at and think, there's the template, I can do a bit of that?
I'm not a populist.
Which one do you like?
I'm not a populist.
I've heard you call yourself a populist.
I've realised I'm not. I've realised that's a
It was
mistake.
last week you called yourself a populist.
I am not a populist. If you think about the issues that I
Are
champion...
you rebranding in front of our eyes?
If you think about the issues that I've championed, they've nearly all been small minority issues.
It sounds to me like you're trying to create a little bit of distance between yourself and these parties for understandable political reasons, because some of them are quite scary to
No.
So what exactly is, or who is, Nigel Farage? Because we don't really know, because he keeps chopping and changing. As he said in that Channel 4 thing, I'm not a populist. You are. So will they look back into where the line which you get a lot from reformists, the cult members, which is, Reform would need nothing without Nigel Farage? Well, no, because if you looked just before the election, Reform were going to win a few seats, probably only 2 or 3, but they were going to win seats because people had had enough of the Conservatives, didn't really want to vote Labour, and Reform were the only viable option. So people were going to vote for Reform. And as it turns out, one of the seats that was definitely going to be Reform win was Clacton. So, there's now a safe parachute seat for someone. And then along came Nigel, who just walked back into Reform and installed himself as the guy who was going to be the MP for Clacton. So basically put himself in a seat where he knew he was going to win. Takes over the party, kicks out Ben Habib, or knocks the nose of Ben Habib out of joint. I think it was just after that Ben Habib went. And then took on this it's all me attitude. Now, as I said, I went to the original conference, Birmingham conference, the Reform one, just before the election. And it was, and if you watch all of his speeches and the way they are, it's all, look what I can do, look at me, look at me, look at me. Okay, so his famous line, and another line that everybody kicks out is, well, he did deliver Brexit. Did he? Because well, you know what, you should know what I'm like now. When things start to tweak my interest, shall we say, when I start to think, was everything the way it seems to be, I start to take a look. And I don't just look at what happens. I look at people's reactions at the time of things, because you can tell a lot more. As the police will always say, what you say is only 20%. The other 80% is your body language. What you're saying without saying anything. Because it means a lot. It genuinely means a lot. Now, and the more you walk down the rabbit hole, the more you realise that an awful lot of things are done. In fact, everything has been done up until now by design for a specific reason. Now, when you look at that, when you open your mind to that fact, which is a bit frightening, but if you do, and you open your mind to the fact that everything is really genuinely happening for a reason, there's no such thing as coincidences. There are consequences, but not coincidences. It's got early in the morning, my brain's getting all the words confused. Any case, Brexit vote was designed to give the illusion of choice. We were given the chance to vote on something. And Nigel Farage took part, as campaigning, because he'd been arguing vehemently in the EU and getting very rich from doing so. And he was like the agent provocateur, the devil's advocate, that annoying bit of thrush that chips away at stuff. And then don't get me wrong, the EU is the EU, and we will discuss that in another video. So Nigel was then used as the figurehead of the Leave campaign, as well as, of course, Boris Johnson and the infamous bus. Now, the vote for Brexit was not supposed to have gone the way it went. And that included surprising both Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage, which is another reason why, after winning, Nigel pissed off, because he really wasn't supposed to be in that position. Just think about that for a minute. He was leading a campaign where everybody was stacked against him. The media, the establishment, the scumbag elite, everybody. And to everyone's complete surprise, the annoying British public didn't do what they were expecting them to do. And we voted to leave. And that caught all of them by surprise. And I mean, you go back and look at the results and this, that and the other. Yeah? It was all by surprise. And you could tell this was by surprise because they didn't know what to do. Because, again, just like Reform are right now, the polls were saying there was a chance Leave would win. Yet no one planned for that eventuality. There was no plans put in place. Nothing was like drawn up. This is what we're going to do. There was nothing. There was a lot of word spaghetti and, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to do this. But no one had actually said, right, we all need to sit down and actually make a plan, because if we win, we need to implement stuff. Do you remember anything? No, because there wasn't a plan. Because we were supposed to be good little drones and vote Remain. But they miscalculated again. They presumed that after a fair few years of immigration and multiculturalism and all this sort of stuff, all the failed experiments that were supposed to knock us little Englanders, as they call us, down, you lot, as Richard Tice calls us, they thought that this would be a foregone conclusion. They would vote Remain and that'll be the end of that problem. And then we didn't. And then you could just, there were never anyone ever sat down and decided to make a plan for if we voted Leave. So then what happened was, well, the Conservatives needed to take over, because Boris Johnson, there's the possibility of him becoming at that time Prime Minister, which he did with a massive majority. So everybody went, oh, well, okay, he'll get Brexit done like he promised, so we'll all vote for him. And we gave him an 80-seat majority. What did he do with Brexit? Exactly. Fuck all. We had Brexit in name only, because everybody in that big house worked against it, stopped it from happening. That, if you notice, now pay attention to this, because again, this is me thinking outside the box, but when I say it, you can see where I'm coming from. After Brexit is when we suddenly started getting a really large increase in illegal immigrants, almost as if they realised that if they're going to have a vote about anything again, they better make damn sure that there aren't enough little Englanders left. So the two big gangs created, as I mentioned in the boats video I did, there is only two gangs, the EU and the UK, and they're working in cohorts to make sure that people like me and people like you listening to these videos, us little Englanders, no longer exist, that we won't be able to have enough people left to be able to say no. Food for thought, isn't it? Now, this then brings us back on to Nigel. Now, I've done a video where he's against mass deportations because it just can't be done. And he wants to appease Islam because that's what he wants to do, because that's what he's been told to do. No such thing as coincidences. This is the reason why. And the problem that Rupert Lowe was the fact that he wouldn't toe the party line. He was told to downgrade and de-word speeches that were seen to be inflammatory. So the problem was his Reform got in under false pretenses because they had no intention of doing everything they stood for. Sounds familiar though, doesn't it? You know, just like Labour, everything they said they were going to do, they've done the complete opposite. So is Reform, except for Rupert Lowe. Rupert Lowe has been a very, very good MP, and he kept asking and saying and doing the questions that as a Reform MP, as Reform said they were going to do, he did. He worked and he grinded and kept asking the questions. Funny that, isn't it? Now, that means that the establishment are now saying, those elitist scumbags, look, now listen here, Nigel, we've given you Mohammed Youssef as chairman. He's going to pay, he's going to tell you what to do like a good drone. You do as you're told. But you really do need to do something about these right-wing people who are talking stuff that we don't agree with. So you need to get rid of them. So off went Ben Habib, off went Howard Cox. Off goes Rupert Lowe. Anyone who actually toes the line that people thought Reform were for, thought that what Reform stood for, are gone. We have the Stafford branch being closed completely because they dared question Islam. Are you beginning to see a pattern here? If you actually stand for what people want Reform to stand for, they're being got rid of. And of course, it's everybody else's fault. Now, also remember, I've touched on this before, and I'm going to touch on it again because it's important, and hopefully people will start waking up. People are waking up to this, but listen. Nigel said he would be the leader of Reform for 5 years, which means he will be the leader up to the election. As I've mentioned before, when at that Birmingham conference, Mohammed Youssef, no, don't stop calling him Zia, Mohammed Youssef, was touted by Nigel as his potential successor. Thinking yet? Because Reform win. Reform win as they're predicted to win. Reform get in. Nigel fucks off again like he does all the time, but not until he's installed Mohammed Youssef as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. outside the box, maybe. Bit of a long reach, is it? Because they've been trying desperately to figure a way of managing to get a Muslim leader of the United Kingdom, the final step. And there it is. You see, this is what happens when you take your blinkers off and start to pay attention and see how things will go. We are constantly being talked about Sharia law and Muslims doing this and Muslims doing that and Islam this and Islam that. And anyone who speaks out against Islam is jailed, aren't they? Tommy Robinson. Anyone who dares come out and scream and shout about immigrants after a Muslim terrorist, which has now been confirmed was a complete cover-up. It's a complete cover-up, and they've admitted it was. Slaughtered 3 young girls. The government covered it up. Why did they cover it up? Some will say, well, it's because he's a Muslim terrorist. I have my concerns, of which I'm not going to go any further down that rabbit hole. But if you could think outside the box, you may think where I'm heading with that idea. Because that happened, which then had your Southport riots, which then had police, undercover agents, causing riots. We have evidence to do so. That then allowed them to find people to put them in prison as political prisoners, for people to dare speak out against Islam. And then we have all our political prisoners who are in right now. The reason for those is to say, look what happens if you speak out. We'll put you in prison. Are you beginning to join the dots yet? Reform is self-destructing because it's meant to. It was created as controlled opposition. It's been created to suck as many people in as possible. It's been created so you'll be given the illusion of making a change, of making that thing that we so desperately need. And they know we're there. They know we're desperate. They know this. They know we're desperate. So they've created a party that you can all get behind, led by a man put in there by the government to hand over the reins to Mohammed Youssef. And once he's in, game over, little Englanders. They're already talking about making two-tier justice system a thing. Whereas if you're a white, straight male, you're screwed. Now, I don't know how long it will be before there's a knock on the door. I don't know how long it'll be before they come for all of us YouTubers, because they're going to. Because, as was said in the YouTube brief for what's coming in 2025, social media and YouTube has overtaken many media outlets, and it's all being watched now mainly on TV. Channels like mine and everybody else's, you know the people. They're all becoming popular, and they're all becoming more and more watched. So we're becoming a threat. And we do that knowing it. I mean, look what happened to Andy, the Gabby Cabby, and Paz 49 when a rumour started that they'd been arrested. Look what's happening to Silver Fox Hot Takes, where he's still, even though he's back and he's doing his videos, and they are very, very good videos, he knows that he's still under investigation. He could end up doing 3 years. Because he may have said something. This very much reminds me of the film. Remember the film with Mel Gibson called Conspiracy Theory? Where he was a conspiracy theorist and the government came for him because one of the things that he said was a conspiracy and posted in a thing turned out to be true. So they wanted to silence him. Is it because of what we're saying, or is it because sooner or later we stumble on something that is the actual truth? And then we become a problem. Then we need to be silenced. So I do a video right now where I'm saying, well, you know, and that's a possibility. Is this mine? Where I'm drawing the fact that you have no choice. Your choices are being given to you. Yes, there's UKIP and the Homeland Party. But they also know that they're small and they will never succeed. And I guarantee you that if there was a sudden surge of support for UKIP, things would change there too. And that's the worry. Any case, this one's gone on for a little bit longer than normal, but I needed to get that off my chest. I needed to try and open your eyes to the fact that we really are in trouble. And what you think is going to be the saviour isn't. Because people who genuinely hold things, the thought processes, to do that, keep getting kicked out of your opposition. And that should worry you, because you have to ask why. Any case, 2 videos coming up. One will be the last one I uploaded. The other one will be the chosen one, the one that God's a YouTube with a mighty algorithm. Well, it's selected just for you. Unless, of course, this, after doing the boats one and this one, gets to be shadow banned. But I guess that's the way it is. If you enjoy this video, you agree with what I'm saying, and you want to join me on the trip down the rabbit hole, just hit the subscribe button, because it's only going to get worse. You can also like, you can also share, you can also let me know what you feel and think in the comment section down below. And as long as we have an adult conversation, I won't have to banish you to the playroom to go play with the mighty, mighty stickle bricks. Any case, enough of that. I am done. So, until the next one, if there is one.